If you have kids, you probably had no idea that digging a hole in the sand can be this dangerous. In 2024, Teresa and Jason were vacationing in Florida with their 7-year-old daughter Sloan and their 9-year-old son Maddox. They were at the beach when their kids began playing and digging in the sand. They dug a 4 to 6 foot hole when suddenly the sand collapsed, burying Sloan first and then her brother Maddox on top of her. Their parents were sitting only a few feet away and tried their best to quickly save them, but Sloan was sucked by the sand completely. Like, her whole body was in the sand, and Maddox was only sucked in from the chest down. People at the beach quickly tried to dig the sand out to help save these 2 kids, but the walls just kept collapsing in. And after calling for help, it took about 20 minutes to get the kids out. Maddox did survive, but Sloan unfortunately lost her life. This is so devastating because I've never heard anyone talk about this before. And seeing your child lose their life by doing something so innocent like playing in the sand, I don't know how you can ever get over that. It's been advised that children should not be digging deeper than 2 feet because of how dangerous this is.
These are some of the strangest crime stories you'll ever hear. A man once robbed a bank and wrote down his demands on a piece of paper that had his full name and his address on the back, which obviously led to his arrest. Smart guy. This woman and her children were in a Babies R Us when she decided to steal a crib. But on the way out, she forgot to grab the stroller that had her kid in it. I mean, she kinda had one job. An intoxicated woman was once pulled over after driving in one of these things on the road. Yeah, like those things that you drove around in as a kid. And when they asked her what she was doing, she said that she wanted to be a professional wrestler and that this was how to do it. Not a good look.
Gruesome Facts You Didn't Know, Part 112. If you ever have kidney stones, simply take a ride on Thunder Mountain at Disney. In 2016, researchers took a model kidney on the ride to see if this rumor was actually true. They found that sitting in the back seat of the coaster would pass kidney stones 64% of the time. Sitting in the front, only about 17% of the time. This photo from the early 1900s shows 2 boys who were exposed to the same smallpox source. One was vaccinated, one wasn't. In 2007, at the age of only 38, Mark Bamber passed away from heart failure. To accommodate his 700-plus pound body, a special mahogany casket was made, which was nearly 8 feet long and 30 inches deep. At the time, there was no hearses that could accommodate a casket that large, so it had to be pulled by horse. After a horse riding accident, Emily Eccles was left with her jaw hanging on by only 1 millimeter of skin. Her surgeon said that her injury is the worst they've seen outside of a war zone. It took facial reconstructive surgeon Ricardo Muhammad Ali 5.5 hours to perform the surgery. This is her ready to go back to school just 1 month after the accident. In 1995, at the age of 61, artist William Utermohlen was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. From the time of his diagnosis until the year 2000, he created self-portraits, a powerful documentation of his descent into the illness. In 1923, jockey Frank Hayes won a race at Belmont Park in New York despite being dead. Mid-race, he suffered from a heart attack but managed to stay in the saddle until he crossed the finish line.
Here are some interesting abandoned places that you haven't seen before. This is an abandoned traffic jam in Belgium, which looks exactly like something out of The Last of Us. This is an abandoned bunker that just has a ton of old vintage cars sitting in there. Why'd they leave them all? This is an abandoned ghost village in Turkey known as the Burj Al Babas. It has 587 unoccupied castles, and it looks like something AI made to me, to be honest. This was Detroit's Mark Twain Library, which was closed in 1996 for renovations and never opened again. This was a German expedition cruise ship that hit an uncharted reef in the Sandfly Passage of the Solomon Islands. This is an abandoned theater in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I never saw this in the office. This is a car graveyard after a Chinese car company went bankrupt and had nothing to do with them. This is the eerie yellow brick road of the abandoned Land of Oz theme park in North Carolina, which actually I think has been reopened possibly since. This is another abandoned theater in Pennsylvania Pennsylvania, which is where Scranton is too. Why are y'all abandoning so many theaters in Pennsylvania? This is an escalator in an abandoned mall that was reclaimed by nature. Also looks something straight out of The Last of Us, which makes sense because that takes place 20 years in the future when things are abandoned. I just love abandoned things.
Now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So the other day, a Reddit user posted this photo to Reddit. It's of his apartment at night. He had been complaining of hearing rustling noises in his apartment over the last couple nights. Many users thought they could kind of see something in this area of his kitchen, but I couldn't, so I looked at the brightened version. This is the photo brightened. And I know what you're gonna say, yes, it does look like Keanu Reeves, but look at how tall he is compared to the fridge. But it gets so much worse. This is a video he took of his apartment at night where you can see something happen to the light in the kitchen. But let's look at the brightened version. Yes, it's terrifying, but is it a ghost?
This is gonna make you feel crazy. Doja Cat might have had something to do with what happened to him. After Matthew's tragic passing, Doja Cat deleted all of her videos except for this one. So obviously the comments on that video are crazy. People are like, what? Did you have something to do with this? She now deletes the video. There's nothing up now. Take a closer look at this logo and you'll see that something is off. Now the word friends is 7 letters, and in between each letter is a dot that represents each of the friends. You can see how it correlates to each one here. The dot in between the D and the E is gone. Why is one of them missing? This is just a conspiracy theory. I like talking about conspiracy theories. This is not a disrespectful thing. And this was a promotion for her new music video called Demons. And we all know how she's been recently, and all of the other conspiracy theories. Now I get that Friends is a popular TV show, but like the timing's really weird. You can't deny that. Everything is intentional. How would this have been an error? Think about the kind of team she has. How would they forget the first dot? But the promotional photo came out exactly 2 months before what happened to him. And you remember he did all these weird Instagram posts right before he passed away. I made a post about that if you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, all of this weird stuff makes you wonder if he saw it coming. If you like my content, follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact.
Top 5 most dangerous animals in the world. Coming in at number 5, we have the assassin bug, also known as the kissing bug because it's known to bite people on the face. People who are bitten by an assassin bug often contract Chagas disease, which can be deadly to humans. These bugs kill upwards of 12,000 people every single year and can be found in the southern half of the United States. At number 4, we have freshwater snails. Now I know what you're thinking, how can a snail be one of the most deadly animals on Earth? Freshwater snails can have parasitic worms on them, which can get people sick from a disease called schistomiasis, which causes severe pain in the abdomen area. Anywhere between 20,000 to 200,000 people every single year die of this disease, making freshwater snails the 4th most deadliest animal on the planet. Like and follow for the top 3.
Here are some people who survived the impossible. A boy born with just 2% of his brain completely defied doctors' predictions after his brain grew to 80% of the average size. Doctors had told his parents to terminate the pregnancy not once, not twice, but 5 times. The chief baker on the Titanic, Charles Joe Finn, survived in icy waters for 2 hours before he was rescued. He claimed he didn't feel cold at all thanks to how hammered he was from all the whiskey he was drinking that night. In 1999, skydiver Joan Murray's parachute malfunctioned, causing her to fall 14,000 feet to the ground. But miraculously, Joan survived the fall only because she landed directly onto a mound of fire ants. Doctors believe that being stung over 200 times by the ants released a surge of adrenaline that kept her heart beating. In 1915, a distraught woman who was late to her sister's funeral demanded to see her one last time. So the coffin was raised out of the ground, and when it was opened, the dead woman sat up and smiled. She went on to live for another 47 years.
Let's talk about the disturbing story of the other game made by the Hungry Lamu developer, Untime. The full game playthrough is on my channel. We are going to go over the full story here in this short, but it's better if you experience it yourself. In this game, we play as a girl named Cersei. She recently moved out of town for an unknown reason, and she's starting a new life with a new job. Her brother still writes her letters though, and he mentions in one of them, "We've moved on from Lila, it wasn't your fault." Not sure what that means, but okay. Before our first day of work, we hear about a serial killer on the news, and we say hi to our neighbor Ruth, who's doing her stretches in the front yard. Our boss at the bookstore's name is Bobby. He's a pretty rude guy, and he yells at us for being late. And after the shift is done, a running man passes us on the street and drops a watch that we pick up to sell. And it's here where the story starts to take a turn. About a month passes and we learn a few things. The serial killer was found dead by his own hand. He was a scientist named Dr. Travis that worked at Sagier Labs, the same labs that put out a report about time travel and how it's actually possible. But instead of traveling through time, you really just jump to a different time in a parallel timeline, basically. This is important because that day we show up to work, Bobby yells at us for being late again, we snap, and kill him. Ruth sees us do it and calls the police. Right before they shoot us, we use the watch unknowingly to time travel. Yes, this same watch. Dr. Travis was using it to time travel and kill people. And now that's exactly what we're doing. We're time traveling to different timelines, killing Ruth and Bobby over and over and over again. But we eventually run out of timelines and we're killed by us. The original Cersei that was shot by the police still exists. Our consciousness was just transferred to a parallel timeline. Everything looped back around. And we can infer that our character Cersei was the one who killed Lila. I guess we've always been a serial killer.
If you see one of these hanging from someone's bag, run. Oh, sorry, I meant these. Turns out they might be kinda demonic, so this is everything you need to know about the Labubu demon theory in 1 minute. These collectible toys called Labubus have been going crazy viral after a few celebrities were seen hanging them off their purses, and so everyone wanted one. They are these weird stuffed creatures with sharp teeth, evil grins, and angry looking eyes that can also be red. Not suspicious at all, right? Then many people came out online saying weird shit started happening right after they bought theirs. Stories of objects moving around their house, waking up with scratches, getting sick, and experiencing chest pains. One girl claimed she saw the eyes change color and this smile get wider. Another got in a car accident shortly after buying one. Either way, everyone just felt a creepy, unsettling presence around these toys for some reason. Well, now similarities are being drawn between the name Labubu and a demonic deity from Babylonian mythology called Pazuzu, who's known as the King of the Demons and is often depicted with animal features, sharp teeth, a grinning smile, and long ears. Looks familiar, and people got so spooked they started burning theirs and throwing them out of fear. And of course, Simpsons already called it over 7 years ago in an episode where Homer buys a literal Pazuzu toy for Maggie and she gets possessed. Celebrities endorsing behavior with weird demonic undertones marketed towards the youth has disturbingly become just another Tuesday in the 21st century. I do not claim any of this negative energy, and don't worry, neither do you.
Psychological facts you need to know.
People who are good in math are the people who are always complicated in relationships. The firstborn daughter is always the female version of her father. It is said that the nicest people always look mean at first. People who bite their nails are the smartest one. A girl's favorite song will tell you more about her feelings than her lips' voice ever will. Smiling too much is generally a sign of someone experiencing emotional pain. The people who spend a lot of time on the internet are mostly likely to be depressed or lonely. If you can't get someone off your mind, there is a 79% chance they feel the same way. Your body is weakest around at 3 to 4 a.m. This is when most people die in their sleep. Smart people get quickly annoyed by others.
You may not have noticed this secret message in Hereditary. But the big question is, how did the cult get Charlie, the little girl, to the high school party? They were people at his high school pretending to be his friend. They invited him to the party knowing Charlie might have come. On top of this, the mom forced Peter to bring Charlie with him to the party. We know that the cult members are his friends because in the ending scene, you can see the guy with the ponytail here and there. Also, if it isn't weird enough that they put nuts in a cake at a party, everything and everyone at the house party had the same colors as the cult. Also, if you put her chopping the nuts, it's the same rate as Annie bashing her head on the attic door. But now I got a lot to say about the girl he was going to see at the party. So when they were in class, they were talking about a parable involving Heracles, and they were talking about if it was bad that he couldn't couldn't avoid what happened to him because his fate was predetermined, and like whether that was tragic or not. And she said it's more tragic that he doesn't know that his fate could not be avoided, and that he will always think that there was something he could have done about it. This is obviously like foreshadowing. And then we go to that night, and Peter obviously regrets what happened and wishes he could have done something different. On top of this, her Facebook profile tells us her name is Bridget Mulp, and Mulp is the name of a siren known for beauty, danger, and seduction. Just like her. She lured Peter to this party, and that lured Charlie to her death. Because she was like, come upstairs with me. And that left Charlie alone to eat the cake that she was allergic to. Now look at her hand here on her profile. It's doing the same hand that the statue does. I'll show you it again. Let me know what movie I should do next, and come over here for longer videos.
She took the life of her 5-year-old brother and consumed his private parts. 5-year-old Macon Rauch lived with his 18-year-old sister Karina and their mother Daniela in Brazil. On April 4th of 2019, Daniela had some shopping to do, so she left Macon back at home with Karina. Daniela returned home about an hour later, and for some reason she couldn't open the front door. She yelled out to her children to come help her to open the door, but Karina yelled back at her saying that she couldn't. Daniela started to worry, so she contacted her brother-in-law to come break down the door. Once they both went inside of the home, they were met with a horrific scene. Karina had taken the life of Macon, partially decapitated him, and mutilated him. At that point, the family dog attacks Karina. She retaliates and bites the dog. Karina then starts to attack her uncle by throwing things at him and hitting him. She even tried to flee the scene, but she was caught. Once police arrived at the home to investigate Macon's body, they noticed that his body was surrounded by black candles. Police truly believed that Karina was using Macon's body as part of a ritual. That's when police discovered that Karina had cut and eaten some of Macon's body parts. She was quickly arrested and taken to the police station, and at first she was not saying anything, but eventually she confessed to everything. Karina stated that she asked Macon if he wanted to come into her room to play some games, and of course he said yes. That's when she grabbed a pillow, pinned him down, and suffocated him. She then grabbed a knife and tried to remove his head, and he was left partially decapitated. The knife was then inserted into his eyes, and his feet were burned with a lighter. His private parts were then removed, and Karina ate them. Karina was charged with aggravated homicide, attempted murder of her uncle, biting the family dog, and hiding a deceased body. She was sent to a psychiatric hospital, and she continues to receive medical, social, and psychological care.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 21. Scientists claims that the research they have done shows that 1% of society meets the criteria to be a psychopath. That means 1 in every 100 people you meet will be a psychopath. It was said a long time ago that boiled toads would help cure rheumatism, which is arthritis, and that feeding rotted mice to children would help with their bedwetting problems. Have I wet my bed before? Moving on. Oh yeah, this is just a fact to remind you that there is a brain-eating amoeba out there that if you get water through your nose or in your ears, that it could possibly, eat your brain. At an abandoned wildlife park in Australia, there is a fully preserved shark found still in the tank filled with murky waters. Oh my gosh.
Look, after Selena Gomez, Jennifer Lopez, Celine Dion, Cardi B, and even Justin Bieber, it's now singer Billie Eilish's turn to deal with a mysterious illness. What's happening to her is truly creepy. Most people discovered her back in 2018 when everything seemed to be going great for her. But now, listen to what she confessed to these two people.
I'm never feeling happy, so why would I write about things I don't know about? I feel the dark things. I feel them very strongly.
Unfortunately for her, on that day, the two doctors didn't understand what she was trying to explain. So she decided to try a different approach. She started drawing the monsters she sees in her nightmares. Here are some of the drawings she made.
Oh, this song. This is the drawing of this song. Because the whole song is about, monsters under your bed.
They're just terrifying. But wait, it gets even creepier. Hidden messages are said to exist in her song, When the Party's Over. And these messages, they're spine-chilling. You can hear them by playing her music in reverse. But hold on, because the second hidden message is far worse. She says something that sounds like a cry for help. It's as if she's being threatened by something powerful. Could it be that she too made a pact at the start of her career, like so many other artists allegedly have? If you like my videos and want to support me, click the link in my bio.
People who survived the impossible, Part 3. A 42-year-old Russian fisherman was viciously attacked by a brown bear in 2014, but he was spared when the ringtone his granddaughter installed onto his phone suddenly went off. Justin Bieber's song Baby miraculously sent the bear running back into the woods like a bitch. Titanic survivor Dick Williams spent over 6 hours waist deep in freezing waters before being rescued. Doctors wanted to amputate both of his legs, but he refused because he wanted to continue playing tennis. He made a full recovery and went on to become a U.S. tennis champion in mixed doubles. In 2014, 3-year-old Karina Chikatova survived in the Siberian wilderness for 11 days with nobody other than her dog. She ate wild berries, drank from a river, and curled up with her dog for warmth. She was saved when her dog managed to find her village and guide rescuers toward her. In 1915, Mexican man Wenceslao Moguel was sentenced to execution and shot 9 times by a firing squad. But he managed to survive every shot, including the coup de grace, a final shot to the head at point-blank range to ensure death. He went on to live for another 70 years, finally dying in 1976.
Police accidentally ended her life for entering the wrong home. On May 16th of 2010, a TV show called The First 48 was filming in Detroit. This show documents homicide investigations and police raids. That night, the show's camera crew alongside the Detroit Police Department arrived at the home of the Jones family. Inside of the home was 7-year-old Ayanna Stanley Jones, who was asleep on the couch, and her grandmother Myrtilla Jones. It was very late at night and the police were executing a search warrant for the arrest of Chauncey Owens. He was a prime suspect in the murder of a 17-year-old who was fatally shot outside of a liquor store. The TV crew started filming as soon as the police broke down the door and threw a flashbang grenade into the home. The blinding flash and deafening noise caused immediate chaos. Myrtilla dropped to the ground and pleaded with police officers to not use excessive force because her granddaughter was inside of the home. As she was laying on the floor with guns pointed at her, she noticed that Ayanna's blanket had caught fire. When she tried to put the flames out, she noticed that Ayanna was bleeding from her mouth. Officer Joseph Weekly had entered the home and fired a single shot. That bullet had struck Ayanna in her head. She was rushed to the hospital, but she was pronounced dead shortly after. Myrtilla was taken into custody after the officer claimed that she tried to grab his gun. She was released the next day, and the First 48 crew had captured the entire thing on film. Police later confirmed that they were targeting Ayanna's uncle, who lived in the upstairs unit, which meant they entered the wrong home. On October 4th of 2011, the officer Joseph Weekly and the First 48 producer Allison Howard were arraigned. Officer Weekly was placed on paid leave and pled not guilty because he claimed he didn't know there were any children inside of the home because he didn't see any kind of toys. He claimed that he had his hand on his gun once he saw Myrtilla moving when she was helping Ayanna, and he accidentally pulled the trigger. All remaining charges against Officer Weekly were dropped, and once Ayanna's family heard about this, they were heartbroken. The city of Detroit reached a settlement and gave Ayanna's family $8.6 million in damages. In April of 2015, Officer Joseph Weekly returned back to work like normal. In 2016, he was appointed co-chair in the Detroit Police Committee. As for Allison Howard, the former producer of the First 48, she had lied under oath about sharing the footage to a third party. She was charged but later accepted a plea deal and she was given probation. In 2016, what would have been Ayanna's 14th birthday, the Black Lives Matter movement held a rally in her memory.
Cases dividing the internet, but regardless of what you believe, there is a tiny little baby out there missing and it's terrifying. So let's take a look together at what the hell has gone on here.
I got him out of the car seat and I laid him down and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, "Hola," and that's all I remember. And I saw white and a hearing sound. I fell on the floor and And as soon as I got up, I couldn't find my son. I checked all around my truck, and I ran into Big 5, and I asked the lady if she saw a baby or someone with a baby. She said no. It was a happy boy. He smiled.
Whoever took our son, please give him back.
Now, as you can probably tell from that clip, police are currently searching for a tiny little 7-month-old baby called Emmanuel Harrow. He was reportedly kidnapped in San Bernardino County, California. So just days ago, on the 14th of August, just before 8 p.m, the child's mum said she was parked outside a Big 5 store. She said she needed to go and buy a mouthguard for her other son, and she noticed her baby, who she was carrying at the time, needed his nappy changing. So she said she went to like the back of the car that she was in to get him changed when someone said hola, and then all of a sudden it went white. She couldn't see anything, and she just stood up. She had been knocked on the ground. She stood up and she was unable to see her child anymore. Obviously, you can see from that clip that the mum does appear to have a black eye, and surely there would be some kind of CCTV from the car park, which I hope police are looking into. The parents were apparently watching some sort of sports game for one of their children, and they have 4 other children as well as this baby. Police have stated that the mother's story did have inconsistencies. I don't know what they are, and they aren't ruling out foul play. Now, they didn't release any details about potential attackers, no sort of descriptions of the person who potentially stole this baby. He stated that Rebecca, the mum, was confronted with some of the inconsistencies in her story, and she declined to continue with the interview. Now, this could obviously be for many, many reasons. K9 team, so like the dog team, were brought in to try and trace the scent of the child, because sometimes that is how they can track missing children, but unfortunately the dogs weren't able to pick up a scent. Emmanuel's parents are urging anybody with information to come forward. Rebecca stated, "I'm begging you, if you know anything, please. I'm begging you to bring him back."